AI has been great because we can perform customer interviews and do customer discovery work, and then leverage AI to assimilate that and break it down for us to find the themes, find the emotion behind it. And it's just a faster way to digest a lot of information from users.
If you're finding value in what you're watching, consider hitting the subscribe button and turning on the bell notification. Oh, and don't forget to drop a comment. I love hearing your thoughts and ideas. By the way, we have got a ton of other videos waiting for you. And if you are ready to level up your mindset, come hang out with us in our private Facebook group called Mindset for Business Success. Hello and welcome to Super Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, Shahid Durrani. Today, we're excited to have Heather Inocencio. Hopefully, I pronounced the last name correctly. Heather has spent over 30 years helping businesses create amazing products and grow big. She's worked with some well-known companies and helped them succeed in a big way. Heather is all about blending technology with what people need to make things happen. She also loves to support and guide others, especially women in tech. So, welcome to our show, Heather.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. So, I want to talk about the evolution of product management. For example, you have a 30-year career behind you. How have you seen the role of product management evolve in the last 30 years? And what trends do you see happening in the future?
That's a great question. When I started
Thanks.
product management it was back in the 90s. Product management was
Mhm,
really the newest role, having a seat at the table with regards to technology development. At the
mhm,
time, we were really focused on making sure that what was being developed by the engineers served what the end users really needed. And so back then, our development cycles could be as long as 18 months. And so 18 months later, after a user group has asked for some kind of technology solution, they're getting it. It may or may not actually be what they need. Things may have
mhm.
changed during that time, or the developers may have not properly understood what it was the users were asking for. And so there's a lot of expense and a lot of time wasted there. And so the role of the product manager early on was to make sure that when there was a need to build a new system, the engineers really understood what the users' needs were, how they needed to interact with it, why we were building it, and ultimately what got delivered served those users well. And so it was a lot of really translating between end user speak. They were speaking and thinking in terms of business language and strategy, and then
Mhm.
engineers, their language was really how are we going to build this from the inside out, from the bottom up. As product management has evolved over the decades, we've moved into a much more strategic role. That's been really exciting. And so, product management now, over those decades, has evolved to be a very forward leading, thought leading role on a team, very strategic. So, instead of just letting users tell us what they need and then working with engineers to build it, we work with companies to understand a lot of different data points and inputs to figure out what it is we need to build. Now we look at data. Now we look at overall strategy and competitive space. And so we are really the thought leaders now that are helping companies
Mm.
understand strategically based on your budget, how you want to position yourself, what your objectives are. This is what your roadmap should look like. This is what you should build. And then, of course, we do stay in the weeds and make sure that ultimately what is getting built and delivered is going to absolutely delight those end users.
Hey, that's a unique way to look at it as well as a thought leadership. And it adds a personal touch too. You feel like you're working with someone knowledgeable and someone that could actually hold your hand in the right direction with that type of terminology.
Yeah, we see that a lot with businesses that we work with. I've seen it all of
Yeah.
my career. There's never a shortage of ideas of what could be built.
Hmm.
Engineering teams and overall tech teams are pretty expensive. And so making sure that we're building the right things, that we're spending our time building things that are ultimately going to add value for the users, going to
Hmm.
impact the company's top and bottom line. How do you figure out what you work on? How do you prioritize that is a big part of what we do.
And how it adds value to the users. Are you incorporating artificial intelligence to help?
We do. That's been exciting.
Okay.
It's the first
Hmm.
time I feel like we've got a really new, fun, and exciting tool to use since the internet
Hmm.
became available to us. We're developing tech products. So that was a game changer. And now with AI, it's another game changer. And we do look at ways that we can leverage AI to do things that we simply weren't able to do before. And we're starting to see that peppered throughout our products and throughout our technology. We're still really at the beginning of the wave of product people understanding how to incorporate AI and where to do it. Obviously, some
Hmm.
organizations are moving faster than others, but it's really reinvigorated what we do. I spent the first 10 years of my career working on the emerging technologies team of a telecommunications company. And back in the 90s, that was a cool space to be because telecom and communications, the transferring of data was really how we got information from point A to point B. And then our technology platforms gave us the ability to move that data, have it show up for users in ways they could interact with it and use their systems. So the transferring of data, the speed going up at which we could transfer data, how much data we could transfer enabled things like
Hmm.
television and on-demand radio, things we didn't have back in the early 90s. And now with AI, we get another opportunity to look at how this advent in technology is just now making things possible that really weren't possible before. So I think the
Hmm.
next couple of years are going to be some of the most exciting that we've seen in a long time in product development.
Hey. So for new idea formations, can you share some steps that you use? I assume you use artificial intelligence as well, but anything else that could help someone watching or listening?
Sure. So for new ideas, let's say we're working with a company. They've got a general idea of where they want to go strategically,
Hmm.
what they think they need to build in order to compete or in order to carve out real ownership in a part of the marketplace and really solve some needs that aren't being solved well by other companies and other tech systems. So we'll work with them to figure out what it is they should work on. And the things that we look to inform us really have to do with we talk to the users. That's always where we start. So
Hmm.
they have
Yeah.
customers are using their systems. Where is it working? Where are they delighted? What are they missing? Where could we do more development? Where could we provide more features, more services for the user? And so we always start by doing user interviews, doing customer discovery work to understand what their mindset is. We look at data. It's another really important input for us. And what people say is often very different than what they do. And so we'll look at data
Mm.
to understand how things are being used, how people are coming back and re engaging with things. What are those things, those features that people are using? How are they creating value for the company? Are we generating the revenue that we need to? AI has been great because we can perform customer interviews and do customer discovery work and then leverage AI to assimilate that and break it down for us to find the themes, find the emotion behind it. And it's just a faster way to digest a lot of information from users
Hmm.
and data
True.
to help us
Yeah.
boil down quickly what are the big things here that we have an opportunity to make a real impact with if we work in those areas.
Right. It can definitely help with speed to market using artificial intelligence, especially.
Yeah. I'm not an
Mm.
engineer and I don't write code. I have a lot of respect for the people that do. And I've been hearing a lot
Mhm.
about developers leveraging AI to write the code that they need to build these systems faster and better. And so that's
Mhm.
really exciting. I think that AI is a tool right now that we're
Mhm.
all figuring out how do we use it in our niche? How do we use it in our
Mhm.
specific role? And so it can help
Mhm.
us from a strategic perspective like I said, to really be able to digest large amounts of data and then easily surface what are the big things we need to be gleaning from this data. And then for
Mhm.
engineers, it can potentially be a big tool to help them do what they need to do faster and better. So we're
Mhm.
going to start seeing development. We already are seeing development of new features, new services, new tech platforms happen a lot faster.
Mhm. You transition into focusing on empowering women and product leaders as a thought leader. Can you share some effective tips or strategies that could support or help others that are looking to do the same, or they're already currently in that type of position where your information could help them?
Sure, yeah. Um, For women, for men, doing what we do, the strategic product management work, making sure that we're building the right things at the right time for the users to deliver what a company needs. That's one of our taglines in product management. We make sure we're working on the right things at the right time. There's a lot that feeds that. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, the way that you inform those decisions, the way you go about your daily job is going to be the same. And it's looking at user feedback, looking at data, talking to your engineers about what technology is just now making possible, understanding what the business objectives are, understanding the budget, understanding how we're positioned in the marketplace. And we pull a lot of those data points together to decide what we think we should work on. For women specifically, women just haven't had the same seat at the table as men have for a long time. And so when I speak with women about this, it's not specific to the skills that it takes to do the job. It's more about making sure that we show up with that same inner confidence that we see that men display. So it can be uncomfortable for a woman when she's the only woman having a conversation with a lot of guys that are the engineers, that are the data people. And so I just encourage women to not let that imposter syndrome, that question of, do I really have the right to be here? Have I earned the right to be here? Am I as smart as these folks are? Am I as competent as these folks are? Do I have as much background so that I'm making informed decisions as these folks around me have? To really move past that. And a lot of the conversations I have with women is about making sure that core belief is one that, yes, you deserve to be here. You've got great experience. You are adding a ton of value. And to remember that going in, I think there's a lot of speak that holds women back from really stepping up and really contributing. And so just getting a bigger voice, getting comfortable with leveraging all that you've learned in your career to really show up and contribute all that you've got. And you're going to make some mistakes. That's okay. But you got to keep pushing and feel confident.
Yeah, and same goes for men as well. I mean, there's these traits that kind of hold us back as well, and you see them across majority of people. We just have these things that kind of linger on from our childhood that create these belief systems that put us in, or they make us feel like we're in an awkward position, but really we aren't. So there's a big component of the foundational work, the mindset work.
Yeah, for sure. What we believe and what we tell ourselves is so important to be in touch with. A good friend of mine once said, it's like there's a little voice in the back of your head and it's always talking at you. And it's really good if you can hear what it's saying. I loved that. It sounded to me, I pictured her in a rocking chair with a piece of grass hanging out of her mouth, talking and pondering. But I love that. And there's an inner dialogue, and it's important that we understand what we're telling ourselves so that we can break through these beliefs that can hold us back.
Yeah. And that's wonderful what she said. And to me, in my world, it means becoming aware of that voice, becoming aware of that commentary that we have, and which creates a sort of a gap. We're not infused in it. Look away from it and see what it's saying, what it's doing to help us evolve more in a bigger way.
Definitely. That self-awareness, that ability to understand. And it takes, for me, it took being taught how to do that. It took being
like
taught.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like being taught how to be still, how to listen, how to be aware of the tape that's playing in your head, and then to identify judgment. And then you have the opportunity to ask yourself, is this the tape that I want running in the background of my life, or do I want to change it?
Yeah. This is probably the best thing I did in my life is that part. It takes time. There's a lot of commitment involved and consistency involved. Moment to moment, it becomes a new lifestyle. But man, is it so worth it, because everything else becomes a breeze then.
And were you also, did you learn this from someone else, or was this something that you figured out that you should do?
It was through an experience. When COVID hit, I basically had a breakdown. And then because a lot of the businesses broke down at that point, and I just froze. I just went blank. And in that stillness, like nothing was happening, I went to the computer and I searched up mindset. And I knew about mindset. I even talked about it. I would share posts about positive mindset and positive mental attitude. But it was something that drove me to search mindset. That's my answer. I need to fix what's going on inside of me. And that was back in 2020, and I haven't stopped Since then, from that day, on a daily basis, I invest a lot of time into mindset work, and it evolved into working on presence and involved in mindfulness, the inner child work, and all that beautiful stuff that happens internally. That's where my focus has been, and I felt like everything else that I did in my life was really, in my point of view, pointless, because I wasn't getting closer to what's the purpose of all this. When you go within, it brings you closer to what it means to be alive. And that is so special in this way.
That's the good stuff right there. I think 2020 was a transformative year for a lot of us
Yes.
because of
A
that.
lot of people.
We get so stuck on the hamster wheel. We get so stuck focusing on what externally what we're taught success looks like and what we should strive for. I did. I have had my foot on the gas pedal of my career my entire life. Don't look back. I'll look back when I retire, but time to waste right now contemplating too much. I just need to keep pushing forward. Mistake that was, and I'm so glad that I learned it when I did. 2020 was transformative for me as well, and it takes all of that. It takes that moment of silence. It takes that moment where, for a lot of us, that rush to the next thing and the next thing was stripped away during the pandemic. We could rush to the next thing. We had time to sit with ourselves, hear the quiet, get really present with what's going on.
Amazing.
Feel if it's uncomfortable. And that opened up an opportunity. A lot of people took that opportunity to say, all right, I'm feeling things. I'm hearing things in my head. I'm aware of things that I haven't been aware of for maybe decades. I can do something about it if I want to. And thank goodness for the great teachers and all of the great support out there. When we want to get mindful, there's lots of information about how to do it. I'm assuming you meditate some.
Yes, I do. I meditate every day consistently. I've been doing it for a very long time. I believe it's been close to 2 years now that I've been consistently meditating. Everything that you can think of when it comes to the mind, I work on consistently. The key is the presence of it all. It's being in the moment, from shifting from means to an end for each moment. Like you mentioned, it shifts from just really falling in love with the moment that you have in front of you and whatever it entails. If it entails an action, you're just so fused with that action that you become one with it. You become one without even worrying or having any type of energy towards what it will produce. It's meaningless. At that point, you just become as one with the action. That's all that matters, because it's in that moment. So it's in that moment, whatever it is. It actually could be just sitting still. Doesn't really matter, but that you fall in love with that moment. So that actually makes everything easy. Then you don't, even a difficult, you surrender to, because you know what is there for. What has a purpose, what has a lesson that needs to be taught here, and you just pay attention to it differently. You don't freak out. Like I used to freak out a lot. I was a ticking time bomb, but I needed to go through it. I needed to go through that to be where I am today. And a lot of us may be facing that. And the purpose of this show is also to bring that voice out, to make people realize that it's not out here. All their answers that they're looking for is in the mirrors inside. And when they start shift that focus inwards, everything that they do becomes more powerful.
Yes, I love everything that you're saying. And it's very much along the theme of enjoying what you're doing in the moment, being in the flow of the actions that you're taking, experiencing what you're experiencing in life now, not as a means to an end, but because you are really centered and really aware of what you're doing right now. That's where life happens. It doesn't happen at the end of the day when I get my work done. It doesn't happen next year when I get the promotion. It's happening right now, in every moment, and this moment right now. And yeah, I was listening. I use an app called Waking Up. It's been such a fun journey. I've learned so much listening to the different speakers. The gentleman, I don't recall his name right now, he wrote the book 4,000 Weeks that a lot of us read during the pandemic. And he used to be a productivity coach, a productivity blogger, how to basically make the most out of every second of every minute of every day. And as he reflected on his life, he had a child, the pandemic happened. He came to understand that being very productive, if productive for us means we are living a successful life, we will look back on it and be happy with what we've accomplished. That being truly productive means being very present in each and every moment of your life.
Mm.
Redefined productivity. It's not about how many things can I check off my list at the end of the day. It's about how engaged was I during the day, in the moments as they unfolded in front of me. When you spend a day like that and you look back on it, time slows
Oh,
down.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's beautiful. And I'm grateful to met you because it's funny that I meet more and more, and I find it going in an upwards trajectory when it comes to meeting individuals like yourself that went through this type of transformation. And it sometimes comes out in a conversation on the episode, but I notice it many of the times it comes up after we stop recording. We chit chat a little bit. I chit chat with the guest, and it comes up there, and that's beautiful. That means that there's an alignment. There's something happening where we need to meet. There's a stepping stone that has to happen when it comes to this type of evolution, because like you said, since COVID, there is a huge shift, regardless of what religious belief you have or whatever thought patterns you have about your existence. For example, we're all going towards that feeling of there's more to it. It's not just what we see with our senses or sense with our senses. There's a lot more to what's happening. And this love and this type of interaction is bringing that out more and more. And there's more and more people speaking about this as well, because it's experimental. It's not something that someone has to teach you. It's so beautiful that you just find out for yourself. You just follow simple instructions, keep your commitment, and you will discover these things yourself. And that's what's beautiful about it.
Yeah, it is. I'm experiencing the same thing. There are conversations happening on a very real, very human level, even in the workplace, that are not centered around how much are you going to get done today.
Yeah.
That's important, but it's more about the quality of the work you're doing and where is your head,
Yes.
where is your mindset?
Yeah.
Because if we do 5 things in a day instead of 10, but we do them exceedingly well, versus we do 10 things in a day and they're sloppy and they need to be redone, they're half thought through. I'd rather get the 5 things done really well and not have to revisit those and redo those later. And so this connection that I'm seeing in the workplace, where we're connecting first on that more just real, more human level, is enabling us to do more with work. It's enabling us to be more productive because we're more present when we're doing the things we're doing. And it's a really important conversation right now with AI, because AI is going to make possible a lot that wasn't possible before. We can really trip ourselves up if we're not careful with how we use it and with drawing conclusions from the decisioning that it's doing for us. And so now more than ever, it's important that we are applying our better senses around ethics and integrity in the work that we do. Because if we leave it to AI, it could steer us down paths that are unethical in the products and things that we build. So I love that there's this heightened awareness right now that we're seeing amongst everyone of wanting to connect from a more centered, more real, more human place. That awareness is necessary as we start using new tech tools that can fundamentally change how we relate to each other, how we connect in society. And so having that awareness as we're using AI to do development is critical. We could end up in a bad place in a few more years.
I find artificial intelligence came to us to replace our intellect, because there's a deeper side of humans that we've been ignoring on a wide scale basis. Because if you look at our schooling system, we don't talk about intuition. We don't talk about that sense of knowing the deeper side of the human being, which is crucial for our evolution, which is crucial for our betterment, for the future generations, for what we can do for this earth and what we can create. So I feel like the ChatGPT came to us just to replace, so we're not too focused on thinking to make things better, more about the feminine side, the feeling side, the intuitive side of the being, to bring up some evolutions like we have in the past. A lot of things that we discovered been here for thousands of years, but we just realized them or became aware of them in recent times. For example, Wi-Fi and other technologies, they've always been there. It's just us becoming aware of it to put it all together to make it what it is. Same way, there's so many of these inventions that came through the intuition of a human being, that if we start focusing on that and we start becoming more inner focus, mindset focus, we will start bringing out that creativity that we may have not seen. We will see some incredible leaps in a shorter time now that we start tapping into the intuitive power of the human being. So my next question is, how do you see the human intuition and technology product development going forth?
I've never been asked that question, and I absolutely love
Yeah.
it. I like the premise that you put out, which is that by
Mm.
leveraging AI, leveraging these essentially more intelligent tools, we can move the part of our brain that used to be needed for that over to these tools, while keeping an eye on making sure that we're doing
Of
things.
course.
But that just gives us more minutes, more hours in the day to leverage other parts of our brain for becoming creative.
Mindfulness.
The
Yeah.
mindfulness. I love it. And
Yeah.
as I reflect even on my day yesterday, I was able to use AI to do a lot of tedious things faster. And what would have taken me hours took me minutes. And that did free up a lot of my time to do more of that creative thinking. And so, to your
Yeah.
question, I see intuition playing a role in how we do technology development going forward. I think there are a couple of ways. With AI, we're going to start to see technologies available to people that may or may not be tech savvy in ways that it's never been available before. How are people going to use that technology? We see the commercials on TV now. Someone holds up their phone and says, "Give me recipes for what I can cook, what's in here." That's pretty cool. So as we start to see people's behaviors change, those of us behind the scenes that are building these features, building these technologies to put out there into society, we're going to have to observe what people are doing with them. And that's one place I see intuition being important, is observing and watching how patterns change in user behavior because of the new tech products we're putting out there, and being able to
Mhm.
think about, where is this going? Are we, again, ethically, are we building the right things in the right ways that are encouraging healthy behavior in society? Or are we building something that's going to get people staring at their phone for even more hours a day with the head down, disconnected from the world around them? Being able to look ahead like that, look around like that, because these technology tools like AI are doing a lot of that tedious work for us, therefore giving our brains the room to create more, is going to be really important. We don't want to go down any more paths that we've gone down, building tech products that are actually hurting society in various ways that weren't foreseen, definitely weren't foreseen from the beginning. And by the time they were, the dollars were too ingrained in that for people to want to do much about it. So I think that intuition, that mindfulness, the self-awareness on the part of the people that are developing these new products is going to be critical, because we are
Mm.
going to change behavior. Look at something as simple as, and I say simple, Uber is an idea that we all come back to for various examples and use cases. Uber changed the way we think about, I'm at home and I need to get from here, let's say, to the airport. How am I going to get there? I'm not going to drive myself, right? So the angst that used to happen when I'm going to age myself here. I would pick up my home phone. I'd look up the phone number for the taxi company. I'd call the taxi company. I'd tell them where I lived, where I was going, and then I would wait. I would have no insight. I have missed flights before.
Mm.
My taxi
Yep.
didn't show up on time. And so in that case, something as simple as a ride app, you can open the app and call
Yeah.
up an Uber,
Yeah.
change the whole experience, is like
Yeah.
inside all of someone who's about to take a
Fixing a
business.
problem.
Yeah, it fixed a
Mhm.
problem and it removed some anxiety and it removed time that people
Mm.
spent waiting. I don't know if you've ever called a taxi. We would call them back over and over. Are they
Uh-huh.
close? How far away are they? And then they'd have to
Yeah,
call.
I have.
That is a
So
significant, yeah.
that's a huge shift. That was a very good example, Heather. And speaking of fixing a problem, an idea just came to mind when you were speaking. An app where, what do we do for an app? When we use an app, we're looking to get more information. We're looking to socialize, right? We're looking to get a laugh. But what if there's an app where you get point systems and the selected information come to you at a specific given times in a day instead of having access to it all the time, meaning that not using your phone will be promoted and gifted some sort of a system where they can grow income or something. I'm just thinking out loud, where
Mhm, mhm.
it allows users not to use their phone but also add some excitement to their life.
Yeah. Gamifying user
Yeah,
behavior.
gamifying not using.
Yeah, gamifying, putting the phone down and not using it. I just
Yeah.
discovered,
Yeah.
and many other people may be aware of this. I just discovered yesterday, and I have now activated this setting on my iPhone. The notifications that I get, I only now have a two or three tools on my phone that are allowed to notify me when
Yeah,
things are
same here. They're all
everything.
off.
My notifications are still on for all of these other apps,
Mm.
but I group them up now and I can choose the time of
Oh,
day. They all come in. So once at a certain point in the morning, and I've chosen one more time in the evening, my notifications can all come through. But my phone isn't dinging throughout the day, constantly distracting me and
yeah,
getting.
good idea.
So it's not
Yeah.
gamified necessarily, and that's a really
Yeah.
neat. Yeah, but at least I was able
Yeah.
to turn a lot of that off. And I mean, there was
Yeah.
a time
It's
a
a
few
great
years.
idea.
Yeah, there was a time
Mhm.
a few years ago I wouldn't have turned that off if I could have because I was so
Yeah.
addicted
Yeah.
to the dopamine hit.
Consumed.
Yes, yeah.
Mm. Consumed by it. But that's a great idea. What I did a couple years ago or so, I completely shut off my notifications. I left all WhatsApp groups, and I only go to the phone when I want to, when I need something, not the other way around. So that was a major shift that I made, and I couldn't be any more grateful for that decision. Heather, it's great to talk to you. We could talk forever. We usually like to keep the episode up to 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. It was great chatting with you. It was very energetic. Your information is quite intriguing, what you're sharing, and I can see some wonderful products coming out in the market. Definitely keep in touch, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Your opinions.